The transport ship landed on the metal platform with a loud sound. Steam came out from under it, and the doors slowly opened. Students from many different planets walked out, each one looking strong or strange or powerful in their own way. Some had 4 arms. Some had scales that shone like metal. Some were so tall that they had to bend down to fit through the door. And then there was. She was the last one to step off the ship. She was small, much smaller than everyone else. Her skin was soft and brown, her hair was black and straight, and her eyes were dark and calm. She wore a simple gray uniform, and she carried only one small bag. She did not speak to anyone. She did not look around with wonder or fear. She simply walked forward, following the others toward the large building ahead. This was the Galactic Military Academy on planet. It was the most famous training school in the entire galaxy. Only the best students from each species were allowed to come here. They trained for 5 years, and then they became soldiers, leaders, or commanders for their planets. Was the first human to ever attend. The other students noticed her right away. They whispered to each other as she walked past. A tall creature with blue skin and sharp teeth laughed quietly. A student with 6 eyes stared at her and shook his head. They all thought the same thing. Why is this weak creature here? Humans were not known in the galaxy. Earth was a small planet far away from the center of galactic civilization. Most species had never even heard of humans until a few years ago, and when they learned about them, they were not impressed. Humans had no claws, no scales, no venom, no natural weapons at all. They could not see in the dark. They could not hear sounds from far away. They were slow compared to most species, and they were very easy to hurt. So why was one of them here, at the greatest military academy in the galaxy? Did not care what the others thought. She walked into the main hall and stood in line to get her room assignment. The officer at the desk was a large creature with gray skin and 4 arms. He looked at her for a long moment, then typed something into his computer. "Human," he said slowly, as if the word tasted strange. "Room 47, you will share with another student." Nodded and took the small card he gave her. She walked down the long hallway, past doors that opened and closed as students went in and out. Finally, she found room 47. She touched the card to the panel, and the door slid open. Inside, there was already someone waiting. Her name was. She was from a warrior species called the. She stood almost 2 meters tall, with muscles that looked like they were made of stone. Her skin was dark green, and her eyes were golden and sharp. She had been lying on her bed, but when walked in, she sat up and looked at her. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Then laughed. It was not a kind laugh. It was the laugh of someone who had just heard a very bad joke. "They put me with a human," she said. "Is this a test? Are they trying to make me angry?" Did not answer. She walked to the empty bed on the other side of the room and put her bag down. She opened it and started to take out her things. A few clothes, a small book, a picture of a place with green trees and blue water. Stood up and walked toward her. She was so tall that she blocked the light from the ceiling. She looked down with a mix of confusion and disgust. "Do you even know where you are?" asked. "This is not a place for weak species. This is a place for warriors, for hunters, for the strongest beings in the galaxy," she pointed at herself. "I have killed enemies with my bare hands. I have survived battles that would destroy your entire planet. And you are nothing. You are soft. You are slow. You will not last 1 week here." Finished putting her things away. Then she turned and looked up at. Her face showed no fear, no anger, nothing at all. She simply looked at her roommate with calm, quiet eyes. "Thank you for telling me," said softly. "I will try my best." Stared at her, she did not know what to say. She had expected the human to cry or to get angry or to beg for mercy. But this calm, empty response, it was strange, it was wrong. "You are strange," said finally, "very strange." She went back to her bed and lay down again. She decided to ignore the human. Soon, the girl would fail a test or get hurt in training, and she would leave. That was how it always happened with weak species. They came, they failed, and they left. Sat on her bed and looked out the window. Outside, she could see the training grounds. Students were fighting, running, climbing, and shooting at targets. They were all so big and strong. They moved like predators, like creatures born for battle. She watched them for a long time. The next morning, the new students gathered in the main training hall. There were about 50 of them, all standing in rows. The instructor was a massive creature with red skin and a voice like thunder. His name was Commander. He had been a soldier for 40 years, and he had trained thousands of students. He walked slowly in front of the new arrivals, looking at each one carefully. When he reached, he stopped. "Human," he said, "I have read your file. Your planet has no history of galactic combat. Your species has no natural weapons. Your body is weak and fragile." He leaned down, bringing his face close to hers. "Tell me, little human, why are you here?" Looked at him, she did not step back. She did not look away. "To learn," she said simply. Commander stared at her for a long moment. Then he made a sound that might have been a laugh, or might have been a growl. "We will see," he said. "We will see how long you last." He moved on to the next student and stood still, her hands at her sides, her face calm and empty. But deep inside her chest, something was waiting, something patient, something that had been waiting for a very long time. The Academy did not know what it had invited through its doors. Not yet. 3 weeks passed at the Galactic Military Academy. Attended every class, every training session, and every lecture. She never spoke unless someone asked her a question. She never complained. She never asked for help. She simply watched, listened, and learned. The other students continued to ignore her. Some of them laughed at her when she struggled to lift heavy weights. Some of them made jokes about her weak human body, but most of them simply forgot she existed. She was so quiet, so still, that she faded into the background like a shadow. Her roommate had stopped paying attention to her completely. Every night would return to their room, read her small book, and go to sleep. Every morning, she would wake up before the sun and leave before opened her eyes. They barely exchanged 10 words in 3 weeks. But then came the day of the combat trials. The combat trials were the first real test for new students. Each student would fight another student in a one-on-one match. The goal was not to hurt anyone badly, but to show skill, strength, and intelligence. The instructors would watch and judge, and based on the results, students would be placed in different training groups. The strong ones would move forward. The weak ones would be sent home. Everyone knew what would happen too. She would lose her match quickly, and then she would be put on a ship back to Earth. That was the only possible outcome. No one even thought about it twice. The students gathered in the combat arena that afternoon. It was a large, circular space with sand on the ground and high walls all around. Seats rose up in every direction, filled with older students and instructors who had come to watch. Commander stood in the center of the arena, reading names from a list. "First match," he announced, "Bora of the versus Minu of the." 2 large students stepped forward and fought. Bora won easily, throwing Minu to the ground in less than a minute. The crowd cheered. More matches followed. Students fought with claws, with tails, with their forearms, with their powerful legs. Some matches lasted several minutes. Some ended in seconds. The winners smiled and celebrated. The losers walked away with their heads down. Then Commander read the next pair of names. Of Earth versus of the. A murmur went through the crowd. Was one of the best students in the new class. He was from the same species as, with the same green skin and golden eyes. He was tall, strong, and fast. He had won every practice fight he had been in. Some people said he might become the top student of the entire academy. And he was going to fight a human. Walked into the arena with confidence. He smiled at the crowd and raised his fist. They cheered for him loudly. Walked in quietly. She did not smile. She did not wave. She just walked to her position and stood there waiting. The crowd went silent. Some people laughed, others shook their heads. This was not even going to be a fight, it was going to be an execution. Commander raised his hand. Begin. Moved immediately. He was fast, faster than most species in the galaxy. He rushed toward with his arm pulled back, ready to strike. He aimed for her shoulder, planning to knock her down with one hit. His fist flew through empty air. Was not there anymore. She had moved to the side just slightly, just enough to avoid his attack. It happened so fast that most people in the crowd did not even see it. Turned, confused. He swung again, harder this time, aiming for her chest. Again she was not there. She had stepped back, her feet moving in a strange pattern that no one recognized. Her face was still calm. Her eyes were still empty. The crowd went quiet. Something was wrong. This was not how a weak species should move. Growled and attacked with both hands. He was not playing anymore. He was truly trying to hit her, to grab her, to throw her to the ground. But every time he reached for her, she was gone. She moved like water, like smoke, like something that could not be touched. Then, without warning, moved forward. It happened in less than a second. One moment she was avoiding his attacks. The next moment she was behind him. Her small hand pressed against a spot on his back, right between his shoulders, froze. His arms dropped to his sides. His legs stopped working. He fell to the ground like a tree falling in a forest. The arena was completely silent. No one moved. No one spoke. No one even breathed. Stood over his body, looking down at him with that same calm expression. She had not punched him. She had not kicked him. She had simply touched him in exactly the right place, at exactly the right moment, and his body had stopped working. "Match over," Commander said slowly. His voice was different now. There was something in it that had not been there before, something like surprise, something like fear. "Winner of Earth." Bowed slightly, then walked out of the arena. Behind her, medical officers rushed to help. He was not hurt badly, they found. His body had simply been temporarily shut down. In a few minutes, he would be able to move again. But the damage was done, not to his body but to everyone's understanding of what humans were. Was sitting in the crowd, staring at the spot where had been standing. Her golden eyes were wide. Her hands were shaking slightly. She had seen her species fight thousands of times. She had seen the greatest warriors in the galaxy do battle, but she had never seen anything like what had just done. It was not strength, it was not speed, it was something else entirely. It was knowledge, deep, terrible knowledge of how bodies worked. Knowledge of where to touch, where to press, where to strike to make even the strongest warrior fall. For the first time in her life, felt something she had never felt before. She felt afraid of a human. That night returned to room 47 as usual. She sat on her bed and opened her small book. She did not say anything about the fight. She did not celebrate. She did not even smile. Sat on her own bed, watching her roommate carefully. "How did you do that?" finally asked. Her voice was quieter than usual. Looked up from her book. "Do what?" "In the arena, with, how did you make him fall like that?" Was silent for a moment. Then she closed her book and looked at with those dark, calm eyes. "On my planet," she said slowly, "we have been fighting for a very long time, longer than most species in the galaxy have existed. We have fought each other for thousands of years. In that time, we learned many things about bodies, about pain, about how to make someone stop moving without killing them." She paused. "And how to kill them if we need to." Stared at her. "You learned to fight against your own kind." "Yes." "Why?" Looked at her book again. The picture on the cover showed the place with green trees and blue water, her home. "Because that is what humans do," she said simply. "We fight. We survive, we adapt. We have no claws, so we made weapons. We have no armor, so we made walls. We cannot see in the dark, so we made fire." She looked back at. "We are not strong because of our bodies. We are strong because we never stop learning how to survive." Did not say anything else that night. She lay on her bed and stared at the ceiling for hours. She thought about the small, quiet girl on the other side of the room. And she wondered what else humans had learned to do in their thousands of years of fighting. The video of fight spread through the academy like fire through dry grass. Within 2 days, every student had seen it. They watched it again and again, slowing it down, zooming in, trying to understand what had happened. No one could explain it. The strongest fighter in the new class had been defeated in seconds, not by force, not by weapons, but by a single touch from a girl who weighed less than half of what he did. Students started talking. They whispered in the hallways. They gathered in small groups and shared what they knew about humans, but most of them knew almost nothing. Earth was so far away, so unimportant that no one had ever studied it properly. So they started to search. Minyu, a student with silver scales and bright eyes, was the first one to find something interesting. He was good with computers, and he knew how to access the academy's old records. One night, he gathered a group of students in the library and showed them what he had discovered. "Look at this," he said, pointing at the screen. "This is from the Galactic Survey, the first report about Earth." The students leaned in to read. The report was short and simple. It described Earth as a small, unremarkable planet with one intelligent species. The species was classified as low threat because they had no natural weapons, no advanced technology, and no history of space travel. "That is what everyone knows," said Bora, a female student with purple skin. "Humans are weak. The report says so." "Yes," Minyu agreed, "but look at this." He scrolled down to another section of the report. This part was written later, after the survey team spent more time on Earth. It is marked as classified. I had to break 3 security locks to read it. The students gathered closer. The new section was much longer than the first, and as they read it, their faces changed. Confusion became surprise. Surprise became shock. Shock became fear. The report described Earth's history in detail. It talked about wars, thousands of them, wars that lasted years, wars that killed millions of people, wars fought with rocks, then with metal, then with fire, then with weapons that could destroy entire cities in 1 second. It talked about diseases that killed more humans than any war, and how humans did not give up when these diseases came. They studied them. They learned how they worked. They created medicines to fight them. They survived. It talked about disasters, earthquakes, floods, volcanoes, ice ages that covered half the planet, asteroids that nearly destroyed all life, and through all of it humans kept going. They adapted. They changed. They found new ways to survive. "This cannot be real," whispered a small student with feathers instead of hair. "No species could survive all of this." "There is more," said Minyu. His voice was shaking slightly. "Look at this part." He scrolled to the final section of the report. It was titled Combat Assessment. The section explained that the Galactic Survey team had observed human fighting styles from across the planet. They found hundreds of different methods. Some used weapons. Some used only the body. Some focused on strength. Some focused on speed. And some focused on something else entirely, using the enemy's body against them. "They have been fighting each other for so long," Minyu read aloud, "that they have developed techniques to defeat any type of opponent. Larger opponents, stronger opponents, faster opponents. They know exactly where to strike to cause pain, to cause paralysis, to cause death. They have turned fighting into a science." The library was completely silent. "The survey team recommended," Minyu continued, "that humans should be reclassified. They suggested changing their threat level from low to 2. He stopped reading. His hands were shaking too much to hold the screen steady. Bora took the screen from him and read the final words. "Extreme. They recommended changing humans to extreme threat level. She looked up at the other students. The Galactic Council rejected the recommendation. They said it was impossible. They said humans were too primitive to be dangerous. No one spoke for a long time. Finally, a large student named broke the silence. He was from a species known for their size and strength. He had arms as thick as tree trunks and a body covered in hard plates. "I do not believe it," he said firmly. "One human girl won one fight. That does not mean anything. The report is probably wrong. Old surveys make mistakes all the time." "Then how do you explain what she did too?" asked. Shrugged. Luck was not prepared. He did not take her seriously. If he had really tried, he would have won. Some students nodded, wanting to believe him, but others were not so sure. They had seen the video. They had watched move. There was no luck involved. Every step she took was perfect. Every movement was planned. She knew exactly what she was doing. The next day, something strange began to happen. Students started avoiding. When she walked down a hallway, people moved out of her way. When she sat in the dining hall, the seats around her stayed empty. When she entered a classroom, conversation stopped. Notice this, but she did not say anything. She continued to attend her classes. She continued to train. She continued to read her small book every night before sleep. But noticed something else. She noticed that was watching everyone, not in an obvious way, not starring or following, but in small moments when others were not paying attention. Eyes would move across the room. They would study faces. They would watch how people moved. They would note who was strong, who was weak, who was fast, who was slow. She was learning, always learning. One evening asked her about it. "Why do you watch everyone so much?" Looked up from her book. "What do you mean?" "You pretend not to see anything, but I have noticed. You watch everyone, you study them. Why?" Was quiet for a moment. Then she smiled. It was the first time I'd ever seen her smile, and it did not make her feel better. It was not a warm smile. It was not a friendly smile. It was the smile of someone who knew a secret that no one else knew. "On my planet," said, "there is a saying, know your enemy and know yourself, and you will win 100 battles." "We are not enemies," said quickly. "No," agreed. "We are not, but I did not grow up knowing who my enemies would be. So I learned to study everyone. Friends, enemies, strangers, it does not matter. I watch, I learn, I remember." She paused. "That way, if someone ever becomes my enemy, I already know how to defeat them." Felt a cold feeling run down her back. "Have you been studying me?" Looked at her with those dark, calm eyes. "Yes," she said simply, "I have." And then she went back to reading her book, as if she had not just said the most terrifying thing had ever heard. That night lay awake for hours. She kept thinking about the small human girl on the other side of the room. She thought about the report from the Galactic Survey. She thought about the thousands of years of war and death and survival that had created a species like this. She thought about what it meant to share a room with a predator who had learned to look like prey. And she wondered if anyone at the academy truly understood what they were dealing with. Outside the window, the moons rose slowly into the sky. Somewhere in the academy, students were sleeping peacefully, still believing that humans were weak and harmless. They would learn the truth soon enough. The alarm came at midnight. It started as a low sound, then grew louder and louder until it filled every hallway, every room, every corner of the Galactic Military Academy. Red lights flashed on the walls. Doors sealed automatically. Emergency protocols activated. Students woke up confused and afraid. They had never heard this alarm before. Training drills used different sounds. This was something else. This was real. Jumped out of bed and grabbed her weapon, a long blade that hung on the wall. "What is happening?" Was already standing near the window looking outside. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sharp and focused. "Ships," she said quietly, "3 of them, landing on the east side of the academy." "What? Who would attack us here?" Before could answer, a voice came through the speakers in their room. It was Commander. All students stay in your rooms, do not leave. I repeat, do not leave your rooms. We are under attack. Security forces are responding. Move toward the door. We should help, we are trained for this. No, said, wait. Wait, people could be dying. Turned to look at her, listen. Stopped and listened. At first she heard nothing except the alarm, but then she noticed something else. Footsteps, heavy footsteps coming down the hallway, and voices, strange voices speaking a language she did not recognize. They are already inside, said. The security forces have failed. His golden eyes went wide. Then we have to hide, we have to. The door exploded. Metal and smoke flew into the room. Two figures stepped through the broken doorway. They were covered in black armor with helmets that hid their faces. They carried energy weapons, glowing blue in the darkness. Pirates, raiders who attacked ships and stations across the galaxy. They took what they wanted and killed anyone who got in their way. No one knew why they would attack a military academy, but it did not matter. They were here now. The first raider raised his weapon and aimed at. He never got to fire. Moved so fast that even with her enhanced senses could barely see her. One moment she was standing by the window. The next moment she was beside the raider, her small hand striking his wrist. The weapon fell from his fingers. Before it hit the ground, had already struck him twice more, once in the throat, once behind the ear. He collapsed without making a sound. The second raider turned toward her, but he was too slow. Grabbed his weapon arm and twisted it in a direction that arms were not supposed to go. There was a terrible cracking sound. The raider screamed, silenced him with a strike to the back of his head. Both raiders lay on the ground, unconscious. The entire fight had lasted less than 3 seconds. Stared at with her mouth open. She had seen the fight with, she had thought she understood what could do, but this was different. This was not a training match. This was real combat, life or death, and had moved like it was nothing, like it was easy. Stay here, said. She picked up one of the fallen weapons and checked it quickly, like she had done it 1,000 times before. Lock the door. Do not open it for anyone. Where are you going? Looked back at her. For the first time saw something in those dark eyes that was not calm or empty. It was something else, something old and dangerous. To help, said. And then she was gone. Moved through the academy like a ghost. She did not run. She did not hide. She simply walked, her footsteps silent on the metal floors. Whenever she met raiders, she dealt with them quickly and quietly. A strike here, a grab there. Bodies fell behind her like leaves falling from trees. She found 3 more raiders in the east hallway. They were trying to break into a classroom where students were hiding. Approached them from behind. The first one fell before he knew she was there. The second one turned to fight, but she was already inside his guard, her hands finding the weak spots in his armor. The third one tried to shoot her, but she moved sideways, grabbed the barrel of his weapon, and used his own momentum to throw him into the wall. She kept moving. In the main corridor, she found 5 raiders guarding a group of captured students. The students were kneeling on the ground with their hands behind their heads. The raiders were laughing, talking about the price they would get for selling them to slave traders. Stepped into the corridor. Let them go, she said calmly. The raiders turned and looked at her. For a moment, they did not understand what they were seeing. A small human girl with no armor, no visible weapons, standing in front of 5 armed warriors. Then they laughed. Look at this, said the largest raider. A little human all alone. What are you going to do, little girl? Ask us nicely. Did not answer, she walked toward them. The first raider moved to grab her. She broke his arm in 2 places and threw him into the second raider. The third raider fired his weapon, but she was not where she had been a moment ago. She came up behind him, pressed her fingers into a spot on his neck, and he dropped like a puppet with cut strings. The fourth raider ran at her with a knife. She stepped to the side, guided his arm past her body, and used his own force to drive the knife into his thigh. He screamed and fell. The fifth raider, the largest one, backed away. His confidence was gone. His hands were shaking. "What are you?" he whispered. Walked toward him slowly. "I am human. Humans are weak. Humans are prey." She stopped in front of him and looked up into his eyes. "Then why are you afraid?" He tried to strike her. She caught his fist in her small hand, twisted, and brought him to his knees. With her free hand, she pressed against a point on his shoulder. His entire arm went numb. "Sleep," she said quietly. She struck the back of his head, and he collapsed. The captured students stared at her in shock. None of them moved. None of them spoke. They had just watched a single human girl defeat 5 armed raiders in less than a minute. "Get to safety," told them. "The north corridor is clear." Then she continued, walking deeper into the academy. By the time the security forces finally organized themselves, the attack was already over. They found 12 raiders scattered throughout the academy, all of them unconscious, all of them beaten and broken. None of them dead. Every single one was still alive, their wounds serious but not fatal. They also found sitting calmly in the main hall, the stolen energy weapon placed on the floor beside her. "What happened?" Commander demanded. "Who did this?" Looked up at him. "They attacked my school," she said simply, "so I stopped them." Commander looked at the unconscious raiders. He looked at the students who had been saved. He looked at the small human girl sitting peacefully in the middle of the chaos. You did all of this alone?" "Yes." "Why did you not kill them?" Stood up slowly. There was dust on her uniform and blood on her hands, but her face was as calm as ever. "You do not always need to kill to win," she said. "That is something my people learned a long time ago. Sometimes it is better to let your enemies live. Let them tell others what they saw. Let them spread fear." She paused. "Fear is a weapon too." She bowed slightly to the commander, then walked past him toward her room. Behind her, the academy was silent. No one laughed at humans anymore. No one thought they were weak. They had seen what one human could do. And they were terrified to imagine what an army of them could accomplish. The news of the raid spread across the galaxy within days. A small military academy had been attacked by pirates. The security forces had failed to respond in time. Students had been captured. And then, against all logic, against all understanding, a single first-year student had defeated 12 armed raiders by herself. A human student. The Galactic Council called an emergency meeting. Representatives from over 50 species gathered in the Great Hall on the central planet, their faces displayed on massive screens around the room. They had seen the footage. They had read the reports. They had heard the testimonies from the captured raiders, who were too afraid to even say the human girl's name. "This changes everything," said the High Chancellor, an ancient being with gray skin and tired eyes. "For centuries, we believed humans were no threat. We ignored them. We dismissed them. We left them alone on their little planet at the edge of the galaxy." "And now?" asked another council member. The High Chancellor was silent for a long moment. "Now we must reconsider." The council watched the footage again. They watched move through the academy like a shadow. They watched her take down raiders twice her size with nothing but her bare hands. They watched her calm face, her empty eyes, her complete lack of fear. "She did not even seem to be trying," someone whispered. "It was like she was holding back." "She was," said another voice. "It was the ambassador, an old warrior who had seen many battles. I have studied human combat techniques since this report came out. What that girl did was the most basic level of their fighting arts, the most simple, the most gentle." "Gentle?" someone asked in disbelief. "Yes, she did not kill anyone. She did not cause permanent damage. She controlled herself perfectly." The ambassador paused. "Their more advanced techniques are designed to destroy, to kill instantly. to cause as much damage as possible in as little time as possible. He looked at the other council members. She was being kind. The room fell silent. Back at the academy, life slowly returned to normal, but everything had changed. Students no longer avoided. Instead, they watched her with a mix of respect and fear. Some of them even tried to talk to her, to learn from her, to understand how she did what she did. Remained the same, quiet, calm, patient. She answered questions when asked. She helped others when they needed help. She continued to attend classes and train with everyone else. But people treated her differently now. When she walked into a room, conversation stopped. When she sparred with other students, they were careful, very, very careful. Was the only one who still talked to her normally. Something had changed between them on the night of the raid. They were not exactly friends, but they were no longer strangers either. They had faced danger together. They had seen each other's true nature. "I have a question," said one evening as they sat in their room. "Yes." "Why did you come here? To this academy, I mean. You could have stayed on Earth. You could have lived a normal life. Why did you choose to come to a place full of aliens who do not understand you?" Thought about the question for a long time. She looked out the window at the night sky, at the distant stars that sparkled like diamonds. "My planet is small," she finally said, "and the galaxy is large. There are many species out there, many powers, many threats. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years, but we are only one species. If something attacks Earth from the outside, we need to be ready. You came here to learn about other species. I came here to understand them, to know how they think, how they fight, how they live," turned to look at. "And I came here to show them what humans are capable of, so that when they think about attacking Earth, they will remember me. They will remember what one human girl did to 12 armed raiders, and they will hesitate." Nodded slowly. "You are protecting your planet even from here." "Yes." "That is very human of you." Smiled slightly. "Yes, it is." 2 weeks later, something unexpected happened. A delegation arrived at the academy. They wore the formal robes of the Galactic Council, and they carried official documents sealed with the symbol of the High Chancellor. They asked to speak with alone. The meeting took place in Commander's office. Sat calmly on one side of the desk. The delegation sat on the other side. Commander stood in the corner, watching with nervous eyes. "We have reviewed your performance," said the lead delegate, an older being with blue skin and white hair. "We have studied the footage from the raid. We have consulted with military experts from 12 different species, and we have come to a conclusion." Waited. "The Galactic Council would like to offer you a position," the delegate continued. "We want you to lead the Academy's new defense unit. You would be responsible for training other students in close combat techniques. You would also be the first line of defense if the Academy is ever attacked again." Did not react. Her face remained calm. Her eyes remained empty. "There is one more thing," the delegate added. "This offer is not just for you, it is for your species. We want to establish formal relations with Earth. We want to learn more about humans, about your history, about your unique abilities." "You are afraid of us," said quietly. The delegate paused. For a moment he considered denying it, but he looked into his dark eyes and he knew there was no point in lying. "Yes," he admitted, "we are afraid. We have been exploring the galaxy for thousands of years. We have met countless species. We have fought wars and made peace, but we have never encountered anything like humans before." "What do you mean?" "You are impossible," the delegate said. "You should not exist. Your planet tried to kill you with ice and fire and disease and disaster. Your own species tried to kill each other for thousands of years. You have no natural weapons, no armor, no venom. By every measure, you should have gone extinct long ago." He leaned forward. "But you did not. You survived. You adapted. You became something that the galaxy has never seen before." "And what is that?" The delegate looked at her with something that might have been respect, or might have been fear. Survivors, he said. Perfect survivors. A species that cannot be destroyed because it has already survived everything that could possibly destroy it. Was quiet for a long moment, then she nodded. I accept your offer, she said. I will lead the defense unit. I will train other students, and I will help establish relations between the Galactic Council and Earth. The delegate looked relieved. Thank you, this is. But I have one condition, interrupted. What is it? You must promise to treat Earth as an equal, not as a threat to be controlled, not as a child to be guided, an equal partner in the galaxy. She stood up slowly. Humans do not like being underestimated. We do not like being controlled. If you try to treat us as lesser beings, you will regret it. The delegate swallowed hard. And if we keep our promise? Smiled. It was a small smile, but somehow it made the entire room feel warmer. Then you will find that humans are very good friends to have. We are loyal. We are protective. We never forget kindness. She paused. And we are very, very good at fighting beside those we care about. The delegate nodded quickly. We accept your condition. That evening, returned to room 47, was waiting for her with wide eyes. I heard what happened. They made you the leader of the defense unit. Yes. That is incredible. You have only been here for 2 months. Sat on her bed and looked at the picture of Earth that she kept on her small table. The green trees, the blue water, her home. I did not come here for power, she said quietly. I came here to protect my planet, and now I can do that better than before. Sat down across from her. Do you ever miss it, your home? Every day, touched the picture gently. But sometimes protecting something means leaving it behind. It means going far away and fighting battles that others will never see. She looked up at. That is what humans do. We fight. We sacrifice. We endure so that the ones we love can be safe. Was silent for a long time. Then she stood up and held out her hand. I do not know much about humans, she said, but I would like to learn if you will teach me. Looked at her hand for a moment. Then she smiled and shook it. I will teach you, she said, but I warn you, human training is not easy. Grinned, nothing scares me. Smile grew slightly wider. We will see. Outside, the stars continued to shine. The galaxy continued to turn. And somewhere on a small planet at the edge of known space, billions of humans continued to live their lives, unaware of the quiet girl who watched over them from far away. They did not know her name, they did not know her face, but they did not need to, because knew them. She knew what they were capable of. And she would make sure the entire galaxy knew it too.